Hello and welcome. Let's talk sludge, and I'm excited because this is an army showcase for what I call the Soviet Confederacy. And the Soviet Confederacy uses the rules for I think it's called the Imperial Nation. And in my sludge universe, these guys have sort of an Eastern European, sort of Russian flavored theme, where, as you can see, quantity has a quality all its own. And there's a couple interesting forces, or at least, interesting units that I'll talk about as well. But this is about, in total, if you take all options and every figure, it's about 540 points. Now, I typically don't play with that many. Sometimes, some games at 500, and I design my armies to scale up to 500. So if I want a really big battle, I'll have 500 points. I typically play closer to 300 points, although I like to have some flexibility in the composition of the forces. So that's why I built up to 500 here. Now let's go through the units, and I'll talk a little bit about the actual figures as well, the miniatures, but also give you some sense for the flavor of the army as we go. So let's start off in the middle here, and you can see here this with the beautiful standard. That is our commandeer, the commander, standard HQ unit with 2 bodyguards. And I typically always model hero units with the bodyguard option. You know, I know you don't have to, and you can model them as individual models, but I always, or at least almost always, take heroes with the bodyguard option. So I just go ahead and model them on a 40 millimeter base because I think it looks cool. Those are, and actually you can see it across most of the bulk of the line infantry, including all the bodyguards. Those are from the Warlord Games Crimean kit. Although you can see the heads are head swapped, and I'll talk about that in a sec, on the line infantry to the sides of the commandeer. But behind the commander, you can see an Eastern Orthodox priest. Now I use the chaplain rules for him. And that, I think, is an Etsy miniature I found. I can't remember who the manufacturer was. But he also has 2 bodyguards, which was nice. The spear is actually from the Norman kit from Victrix, but his hand was drilled. And so I removed the pole, or the cross he was carrying, and gave him a spear instead, so he can count as having knightly arms. Now, on either side of the commandeer is the bulk of the force, which is 2 units of conscripts. Now each figure in a conscript has 4 models, 4 actual figures, or 4 actual miniatures on it. And then each unit has 6 figures. So there's 24 guys represented in each force, plus the officer, which I'll talk about in a sec. As I sort of mentioned earlier, the bodies for the conscripts are the Warlord Crimean Infantry kit. Actually, I had to buy a couple boxes to make enough for everything you see here. The heads are from a lot of different things. Some of the heads are from the Warlord Games Colonial Frontiersmen, or something like that. I forget what they're called. Some of them are from the SpaceNam kit that Wargames Atlantic makes. And then some of the heads are actual Perry ACW Confederate heads. But the idea is that there's just a bunch of these guys. And then again, not every game will have 2 full units of 6. Maybe some games will use a unit of 5 figures, or sometimes 4 figures, or whatever. Or you can even, if in a big army, 500 point game, maybe you split them. So there's actually 4 units with 3 figures each. But again, it's meant to be configurable based on the game I'm playing. Now let's talk about the guys that are in front of the line infantry here. You can see in this army, they are SpaceNam, or by rules, they count as the Imperial Zouaves. So they're a little bit quicker, a little bit more veteran than the typical line infantry. They're sort of an elite line, which is sort of a unique, doesn't open up an elite slot, but they have slightly better stats than the typical line infantry in Sludge. And these bodies and the heads are from the Perry ACW Confederate kit. The arms are actually from a French, is it World War I? Or actually it might be Zouaves, actually, from Perry. So to give them a slightly different weapon loadout than a typical ACW Confederate would have, make them look a little bit more European in arms. And then the gentleman with the pistol in the front, that is the banner, because in the Soviets, nothing quite motivates you on a nerve test like the potential of a bullet to the back. And again, 2 units of that as well. Behind here, next to each set of line infantry, we've got 2 units of, now in this army there, Medvedi, sort of trained attack bears, by rules are sort of count as heavy knights. And I really like this thematically, where, you know, they don't have enough troops. They're trying to just throw whatever they've got at the enemy. And so they've gone ahead and started training bears to help them. And again, the bears sort of fits with the Soviet theme in general. Each unit of 3 figures can also, again, points-wise, take the heavy lance option, or heavy claws, as the case may be here, and that gives them a little bit better damage on charge. And so again, 2 units of that on either side. Maybe don't take all for every game, but take what you need. In the back here, we've got 2 field guns with crews, as well as an artificer for each field gun. Now, some games maybe I take 2 field guns and 1 artificer, kind of depends on points, but there's enough here for each field gun can have its own artificer if they want. The artificers are, I think it's the Wargames Atlantic, I forget what it's called, but it's the futuristic sort of French, vaguely French soldiers. And then the field guns are the Perry ACWs, although the heads you can see I've swapped out for, I think those originally came in the World War I Russian kit from Wargames Atlantic. That's also, by the way, the gentleman with the pistol on either side in the SpaceNam, those are from the World War I Russian kit by Wargames Atlantic as well. And yeah, that's the army, the Soviet Confederacy for Sludge. Look for these fellas coming to a battle report near you. Thanks, and have a good one.